Hello, welcome back to another social dilemma video. With the recent news about Ukraine, Russia, NATO, and the US, I figured it's a good time to do a video on this. I think a lot of people are guilty of not looking at history at all. We tend to listen to soundbite. We are lazy. See, this is one of those few social dilemma that most of us ignore history over and over again. We tend to not care one iota about what happened in the past, the history of anything, and just think that whatever we want to change today is okay. It's the right thing to do. History have no part in what we want to achieve today. Okay? It is frustrating because it's one of those human traits that I find super annoying because it is willful ignorant for the most part, because many of us don't care to learn about history, and even if we do care enough, we tend to ignore history. We willfully ignore the past, ignore how things turn out, ignore the history of other people in other countries, ignore other people's culture. We like to, as I had coined it before in another video, we like to practice a proxy colonialism of the world. Okay, we are so great. There's nothing wrong with believing that America is a great country. Nothing wrong with that. But it's very wrong, in my opinion, to follow that sentence with, you should be like us. We are the greatest country in the world, and you should be like us. That has gotten us into so many conflicts and war unnecessarily everywhere for the past many decades. And right now, with Russia and the Ukraine, I think if you ask the average American if they know anything about Ukraine, they probably can't answer you. They probably can't even answer you that they know that there was a war between Ukraine and Russia in 2014. They probably will tell you that Russia is a bully because Ukraine wants protection from NATO. That's why they want to join NATO, and right now Russia is impeding that process and creating all this problem. Well, if you can spare me 30 minutes or more, there's a link below to a video. That link is 8 years old. That video is 8 years old. Nothing has changed in that video over the past 8 years. I was aware of the issues. I talk about this with many friends over the past many years, is that NATO has expanded greatly. Hopefully, as I'm speaking, I will remember to drop in a list of countries that NATO added in the past 20 years. Many of those countries, for those that remember history, belong to the Warsaw Pact. The pact that was basically created by Russia and other countries to fight against the West, to counter NATO, the Cold War. All right? I don't want to spend this entire video talking about NATO, the Cold War, and the Warsaw Pact, but if you watch that video link below, it would explain everything better than I can. But if you pay attention to that video below and understand more about the problem, the troubled history of Ukraine, you can understand why it is a very sore point for Russia to let that country join NATO. So it's not a surprise that Russia is throwing a fit right now. And it is not a surprise on how the US behave right now. Okay, this is all powerful men, leaders that like to flex, trying to be the tougher guy, using people as pawn, using country as pawn. It is shameful. It is shameful that we like to get ourselves involved in internal conflicts of other countries, ignoring all the problems in that country. Ukraine have a civil conflict for a long time between its people, between its different ethnic groups. There are people in Ukraine that want to be with Russia. Okay? They have no desire to join NATO. And then there are people that want to be with NATO because they hate Russia. So it is another one of the conflict out there in another country that we, in general, don't understand. But we like to talk about principle. We like to talk about how we want people to have freedom, choices. Are we giving them choices? Are we giving the people of Ukraine choices by standing up to Russia? Or are we just using them as a toy to play around with Russia because that's how we like it? Okay, Russia, China, the US, constant conflict, constant problem, all the time trying to get one over the other, always trying to push each other, right? All three superpower are guilty of playing games with other people's lives. I don't really have any answer for Ukraine, but I am in the camp that believe that the best thing to do is do nothing. Let them be. Let them resolve the problem themselves, just like all the conflicts that we see around the world. We ignore the internal conflicts in the Middle East of every country. How ludicrous is it that we cannot even get all the state in this country to agree on one issue most of the time, right? Am I wrong to say that? We can't even agree from state to state in this country. Yet, we ignore other people's problems, conflicts, issues, centuries of hatred, willful ignorance. That's what we are, okay? Willful ignorant is the dilemma here, okay? We seem to just ignore a whole lot of lessons and histories over the past many decades and centuries. We even ignore the problem in our own backyard. We like to give people solutions. We think everything is so easy to solve. We have the solution for you. No, we don't. We need to stay in our lane. And our lane is not the world, okay? Yeah, you might not agree. I'm sure I might be in the minority because, you know, when it comes down to fear and warmongering, it seems like a lot of people tend to buy into the fears and warmongering in this country more so than so let people be. Otherwise, we would be involved in a lot less conflicts around the world, right? So I think I am in the minority. We should spend more time learning history, understanding history of other countries, instead of trying to impose our proxy colonialism around the world. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.